Welcome to another edition of the No Show Sportscast. It is December 27th, Tuesday, 2022. We are back after the Christmas break. Everything is looking good. The sports world was exciting. We're going to get into a lot of the things that have been going on. So we're going to start off with a little bit of basketball, and then we're going to work our way over to the National Football League. It seemed like every single day there was something happening in the NFL. Friday was the only day that there wasn't football. Seemed like it was happening all the time. Coming up this weekend, we got the CFP National Championship semifinals. We're going to be watching that. More to come, obviously, closer to the date. But in the meantime, we've got the Brooklyn Nets 9-game winning streak. We got to give credit where credit is due, you know. Congratulations to the Nets. They have been playing absolutely outstanding. I was watching the highlights from the Cleveland game yesterday. The Nets are on a roll right now. They are on a roll. So we got Kevin Durant averaging 30 points per game. Kyrie, 26. You've got Ben Simmons. He was in that game the other night against Cleveland. I think that the game last night against Cleveland can pretty much culminate the Nets' performances. Recently, they've been able to be better on defense. A lot of people are attributing that to, TJ Warren. He's a great defender in the small forward shooting guard position. He's been playing a lot better as well, kind of getting back to his form. I don't know if you remember TJ Warren in the bubble, but he was playing absolutely exceptional for the Pacers back then. But for me personally, I feel like I haven't really seen him play basketball since. So to be back on the Nets coming off the bench, that's a huge help to him. Ben Simmons is doing his thing, defending, distributing. He doesn't need to score. We're past that. Even if he gets his obligatory 8 points per game, it doesn't really matter a whole lot in the end. Unless it obviously comes down to a close game. But Durant and Kyrie, obviously the prime movers here at the beginning of the year. I thought that the Nets would probably finish the year in the play-in because I still don't think that's far off of a way to assume that how they're going to finish. Because let's be honest, okay? All it's going to take, and this is the main point as to why the Nets have just been so inconsistent recently, is because for Durant and Kyrie and Simmons to play for most of the year. That is the biggest hamartia in the team's chemistry here. Because it all works together if all three of them are there, if they're all present, which we haven't seen yet. So that's why I don't think it's going to end this well, this good. But, they had a rough beginning of the year, and they're able to find their stride now. So the Nets are looking good. Obviously, we're going to have to see what happens because it's the end of the year. It's the end of 2022, and we can make judgments now. It's an appropriate time to see which teams are good and which teams are bad in the NBA. So an example would be the Denver Nuggets. Now, they are the top team in the West. Their Christmas Day performance was another excellent exhibition to see just how well they've been playing, and they've been absolutely killing it. Top seed in the West. Michael Porter Jr. is back. He didn't have a huge game on Christmas, but Jamal Murray did. He had 26, 5, and 5, which would be a pretty much player of the game stat line for most games, or every day rather. But, you got Nikola Jokic putting up video game numbers. He went 41, 15, and 15. I don't know where this guy gets his video game numbers from, but the Nuggets are the real deal. They're definitely one of the probably top three contenders probably for the Western Conference as it looks right now. You got Aaron Gordon. He had 28 points against the Suns on Christmas Day as well. You have excellent role players like Caldwell Pope and Highland coming off the bench. So the Nuggets are just looking perfectly well constructed here. Mike Malone, excellent coach. Everything's kind of clicking for them, obviously. But who really could have predicted the West? We have a feel, as I was saying, now because it's Christmas time. We can kind of gauge which teams are elite and which teams have scuffled. And I love the definition of the word scuffled because it actually means to be in a close fight or to be confused in close quarters, which is perfect because that describes the Lakers the Timberwolves, the Suns. Even I would say that the Phoenix Suns are trying to figure it out. They're having a tough time right now because they're not in their winning ways of last year, which we saw, and they're struggling to beat teams that they should probably be able to beat. I know Paul and Booker have been out of the lineup, but honestly, they've been playing enough. So in other news around the NBA, Klay Thompson hates the Grizzlies. so I mean, that Christmas Day game was very interesting. I didn't watch a whole lot of it. I was watching football. But I did see the Warriors. They were just kind of coming off the gates firing. They were playing really well. Obviously, we have to give full credit to, Jordan Poole, Draymond Green. I believe Draymond Green probably had a triple-double, fouls, assists, and rebounds. But the guy only had, 3 points. Forget all that. You have guys performing offensively like Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson gave some remarks to the comments, the aspiring young Grizzlies, who have exhorted themselves as a dynasty, allegedly. Obviously, I couldn't care less about this because this is just all kind of petty talk, back and forth, mid-season jabber that doesn't accumulate to anything of substance that anyone in the media or spectators alike should even be considering. So I don't know where this originated from. The Grizzlies and the Warriors have probably just kind of developed a little bit of a rivalry, I suppose we could say, recently. This could probably come back to last season's oscillating playoff performances by either of those teams. That was honestly kind of a disappointing series. I think that the Grizzlies, John Morant couldn't let me down because he didn't play a couple of games, so I can't exactly hold that against him, but the Sunday Christmas Day game was a letdown because the Grizzlies were finally at full strength. The Warriors did not have the Warriors did not have Steph Curry. So the Grizzlies were looking great. They were looking full form. But Klay said they should hold off on the dynasty proclamations until they win a championship. Well, I think what he actually said was winning, but, championship, that's the precipice of what winning actually means, right? So I don't know if that really means all that Klay's inciting here, because to me it doesn't really matter. There's a whole lot more to a team, to players, than just winning a championship if we're going to judge their entire careers and their ability to play the game and do a good job. And, if the Grizzlies eventually win a championship, that's going to look great, and then they can keep those kind of exhortations going and motivation, which is great. It's good to see a young team like the Grizzlies. I genuinely want them to do well. The Warriors are struggling. I wouldn't say that they're scuffled, but they are certainly going back and forth. They have got to figure out how to play on the road. I don't understand it. No one does, right? Who cares, right? It's just they got to figure out how to win, and maybe that means just playing consistently when everything isn't always just going as great as it is, because the season has not yet. I believe they're around 13-16. Doesn't matter. The team is not where they were last year, because last year, obviously, they were unstoppable. They were unstoppable. Nobody was catching them last year. It's just clear as day. Now, as we transition over to the National Football League, we had some exciting games over the weekend. Like I said, it felt like every single day there was football. Friday was the only day that there wasn't football, but I don't want to say it was too much football because I enjoy watching it as much as anyone else. So the biggest focus that we can look at was the Cowboys and the Eagles. They played each other yesterday. Everybody probably circled this one on their calendar at the beginning of the year when they saw it in the schedule. They were thinking, wow, this is amazing. We're going to see the Cowboys and we're going to see the Eagles. Who knows, maybe September, October, as the year went on, we were looking at the Eagles. Wow, the Eagles are going to be undefeated. The Cowboys, who knows how good they're going to be with Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott, whoever's at the helm. Doesn't matter. Cowboys are going to do well this year. The Eagles are doing well this year. No one probably expected them to be 8-0 like they were at that one point in the year. Nonetheless, Eagles obviously are for real. They did lose to the Cowboys 40-36. Or was it 34? Doesn't matter. The Cowboys won, and it was all thanks to, first of all, we gotta say that the Cowboys played really well. Obviously, they let in 34 points, which doesn't look that great. The defense wasn't entirely to blame. Dak has had his obligatory interception, which turned into 6 points as well on the other end. But the determination of the offense. So, yes, that was the biggest problem that the Eagles had, regardless of putting up, well, let's see. I don't know how many touchdowns it was, around 3 or 4, but they still played really well. But the focal point of the offense is the quarterback, and Jalen Hurts, who I believe is a runner-up to Patrick Mahomes, respectively, in the MVP race. We could throw Justin Jefferson's name in there as well, but the point I'm trying to make is that Jalen Hurts, if you have one of the best players in the league, if not the best, your team is not going to be able to play as well as you want them to, which is not necessarily what you needed in this game in Week 16 against the Cowboys, because the Eagles are rolling. Both teams are going to the playoffs. But Gardner Minshew played really well, and I think he played better than I thought he was going to play. He did have 3 turnovers, which probably was the decision-making impact that the game ultimately had. Because if you don't have his 2 interceptions, you don't have his fumble, the Eagles are probably going to win this game, and that should be a huge testament to the Cowboys. You almost let Gardner Minshew, by no fault of his own, to win the game. You almost conceded to Gardner Minshew. So, the biggest takeaway I think that we can say from this is that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, they need to be playing better defensively, because this is a good way to gauge how the playoffs are going to be when you're playing a good team like the Eagles. Who knows? Maybe they'll play them in the first round. If not the Eagles, then another good team. And that's the point, right? Dak, you cannot be throwing interceptions every single game, which it seems to be the case. You're incessantly throwing picks, and these mistakes cannot happen in the playoffs. Okay? You got to fix all that up, bruh. Christmas weekend game news. Yeah, so much happened this week. Honestly, it was such a great weekend. It was really, really good. Really great weekend. Really awesome. A few kind of like notes around here. The Rams single-handedly just relieved Nate Hackett of his duties with the Broncos. That was, quite something. But, respectively, the Rams are also considering next year. And me and my dad were talking about this a little bit when the Broncos lost to the Rams, because the Broncos, they fired Nate Hackett, right? They're already thinking about next season, and so are the Rams. But what can the Broncos be doing to make a difference next season with this Broncos club? Because something has to change. And the Broncos right away got on it. So absolutely, 2 thumbs up to the Broncos for thinking that this was necessary and the time is now, which a lot of people I think can agree for sure. Yeah, in other news around the NFL, the Titans are frauds. No question about it. They lost to the Texans at home. It was Malik Willis. Obviously, that makes an impact. But at the end of the day, first of all, I really want the Jaguars to be the ones that are representing the AFC South, because I like them a lot better than the Texans. The Texans have almost been just spoon-fed that division for a little while now. So I think it's time to go. I think Jacksonville is ready. They have that game at hand. It should be solidified in Week 18 when they play the Titans again. So we're going to see that happen again. I just want to end off with the amazing season that we have been able to witness from Justin Jefferson, the man who probably could be another MVP because of his impact with the Vikings. Obviously, they're not going to be as good without him this year. So he had 10 games of 100 receiving yards at least. He had a game, 223 yards, 193, 184, 154. These numbers look like college numbers, and his impact for the Vikings has been absolutely paramount and necessary, and they've needed him. So it's hard. This just makes it even harder for Josh Allen to win MVP. I don't know if there's a whole lot of hope left, because the season is wrapping up. But we can definitely appreciate a lot of NFL players this year, and that is, ultimately what makes it better, especially when teams like the Eagles and the Vikings have been doing better, and we see signs of greatness evolving and emerging.